Okay, here is our second video for our connective tissues. We're going to move on down here to these three. So our dense regular connective tissue, our dense irregular connective tissue, and our elastic connective tissue. These are really easy to tell apart, right? Because they all look really different. We're going to start up here with our dense regular. Dense regular just means that it's compacted, right? It's pretty dense. Very similar to like a stratified squamous, but it is not stratified squamous. It's its own tissue. But you'll notice it kind of has this regular pattern. You'll also notice these little fibroblast nuclei throughout here. This is our dense regular connective tissue. Notice it's much clearer than our non-keratinized stratified or our transitional, but it almost has that same type of look. Okay, here's the close-up again, our nuclei, and we see this nice wavy pattern, but it's pretty regular, right? It doesn't change that much as we come down. Versus irregular. Our irregular one looks like somebody took this, added some nuts, and then swished it all together, right? There is no regular pattern here. It's still kind of dense. We actually don't see, sorry, that was a lot of squiggles. We don't see a whole lot of nuclei. They are there. This dye just doesn't really do well with them. They are right here. Because it is a tissue, they have to have cells, and cells have to have nuclei, except for red blood cells, which we'll get to in a second. But they are there. But again, it looks almost like a mosaic, like somebody randomly just put pieces of something down and never took the time to actually put it together. This guy right here is actually another blood vessel. You can actually see a lot of blood vessels down here at that 10x lens. Remember how I said just a minute ago that you can see a bunch of different tissues in some of these slides. So all of this up here is our keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, right? And it actually makes up the epidermis. Then you have this section right here that makes up the different layers of the dermis itself. This section right here is mostly made up of irregular, dense irregular connective tissue. Down here is the hypo meaning under, dermis. So the underskin, the above skin, the skin itself, and the underskin. And this right here is made up of adipose tissue. So think of your arm. This is the layer we put the lotion on, right? This is the layer of that dense connective tissue. So think of it like Gorilla Glue almost, right? It connects this guy to this guy. And this is the hypodermis, which allows us to have that protection of that fat layer. Underneath that, you'll start seeing your muscles and your tendons. Okay, the last one on this block is going to be our elastic connective tissue. And if you look, right, 4x, 10x, 40x, as you get closer, it actually looks like a really thick band of elastic that somebody accidentally dyed purple. Notice all these squiggles moving this way. These are actually elastic fibers, and then that pink is actually considered collagen fibers. These, it's almost impossible to see the nuclei because of the way it's set up. But, and this is actually one of my favorite pictures. I think it's pretty. I think this should be blown up and put on a wall somewhere. But I digress. So these are your tissues. Again, they're really different from each other. You just have to be able to tell them apart from some of the ones that they may have looked similar to. So those are